Number of times you've called it Miller Park this season.
So PA and Rock and I, we actually wrote like signs and put them up in the booth, and we essentially made a swear jar for the name jar.
Shut up and sit down.
Inside Wisconsin is brought to you by Bay Care Clinic, Cobblestone Creek, University of Wisconsin-Platteville, Roll Tech, Festival Foods, Capital Credit Union, North Star Mohican Casino Resort, American Family Insurance, Miller Lite, and Aaron's Company.
What's up, Wisconsin? From the Inside Wisconsin studios, it's Trevor Thomas. That's John Anderson. John, we're not allowed to say that the Brewers are on top and doing well like we did last episode because it's our fault. It's our fault.
It's not our fault. Are we being blamed for this, that they had an 8-game losing streak?
No,
Who's blaming us?
I'm probably blaming us.
Okay, because I tell you why I argue this with people all the time. Where you sit right now, or where I sit in Connecticut, has no bearing on how low Kane hits. None.
True.
That's great that you impart that to yourself, that you think you are so important that your viewership and that your fandom actually affects how the team plays. It doesn't. Now, I have people that argue with me all the time, people that I work with at a place that covers sports a lot, and they'll be like, I got to go switch seats. Why? Well, because, we just gave up 3 straight touchdowns, and where you're sitting on the couch affects that? I had no idea you guys had that. Like, if that's the case, how about you use those powers for good and not football or
we're trying
baseball?
We're doing this.
So I will argue with people all the time. Don't take this upon yourself that there are struggles. It's not on you. It's great that you think that. It's not the case. I'm sorry. Corbin Burns giving up a home run ball has nothing to do with John Anderson, where he sits in Connecticut, or how hard I root. But but more people on your side of the fence than on mine. Totally.
Understood.
More people are on your side that they think they have that. I just don't.
Well, we like talking Brewers, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And today, more Brewers talk. It's midsummer. The lovely Sophia Minnaert from Bally Sports and obviously Brewers fame, a Wisconsinite, joins us today on Inside Wisconsin. But we talk about this, J.A., but real quick, you knew Sophia when she interned at ESPN.
Yeah, she was, like I said, we kind of had to be reminded of the dates because I'm super old now. I just turned 57. And so a lot of things are all very hazy. But when she was in Marquette, came out here. Most kids between their junior and senior years when they come out. It's a really kind of fun, kind of a robust program. It's hard to get in. There's usually about 6, 7, maybe 8 spots. And there are how many thousands of people that come and want to work here. So, but yeah, we go way back. And it was funny when I kind of was reminded of that when I was at the Wisconsin Sports Awards that Craig Karmazin put on, and she came back up and said hello to me. I interned. I'm like, wow, that is right. And we have a few of those people. She'll pop up, and guys that I work with, producers will go, oh yeah, I remember when she worked here, because people that end up at our place, usually that looks good on their resume, and then they end up in fun spots. And so there you are. Although it just never says that underneath, former ESPN intern. It just says, Sophia Minnaert from Bally Sports or whatever. So I bet Marquette's proud to claim her as well.
I think so too. Let's talk about it. Sophia Minnaert today on Inside Wisconsin. J.A., I know you and Sophia go way back, but Sophia and I just met. That's Sophia Minnaert with the Brewers. Sophia, thanks for joining us on Inside Wisconsin.
Hi, guys. Yeah, no, I'm excited to have this conversation with you guys.
This is great. Yeah, we do go. I guess we kind of go way back. How long? When were you at ESPN? 2008?
2008, the summer of 2008. Yeah.
I remember 2021 at ESPN. Who was there in 2008? Who in 2008 was there? That was Linda Cohn, right? Big. She was still there.
Linda
Stewart
Cohn
was still there. Like, you were there when we kind of a golden age. We had a lot of the biggies.
It was an incredible time to be there. Obviously getting to meet you. and we were just talking, it was the year that they launched the live morning sports center. So I think Hannah Storm had returned to do that show. But yeah, Linda was there, Scott Van Pelt, obviously, Kenny Mayne was there. And this was pre the, Los Angeles Sports Center as well. So everything was in Bristol at that point, and all of the talent was in Bristol at that point. So it was a blast.
SVP had hair back then. It was
Hey.
he still had the pocket square, but he still listen. That happened. So here's what I really want to know, and if I get the right answer here, you and Trevor can take it the rest of the way. So you work for my favorite team. You're close to home, right? You get to have spring in Arizona. You get a couple 3 months off a year. What would it take for you and I to just swap jobs? Name the number, and we'll see.
Name the number. Okay.
Because you're close. Because I can be in New York in 2 hours. We can swap this. This is the time. You're not in LA. You're in New York. We could get this done right now.
Correct. It would be a car ride, right? Or a quick flight to Hartford. We can do this. Well, okay. What would be the repercussions if I showed up to do the Sports Center instead of you?
I don't know that they'd care. They'd be ready to go. They'd be like, hey, there's somebody sitting next to Nicole Briscoe tonight at 1 a.m. That's what we need.
That's what we need. Okay. This is an interesting concept.
Just entertain the idea.
I will think about it.
Okay.
I will
Entertain the
think
idea.
about it.
Because I would literally go in a heartbeat.
So, Sophia, that actually brings up a good point from John. What is it like? I mean, you are Wisconsin just like us, and you're covering our team, right? So talk to us about that. Growing up here and now the Brewers. That's awesome.
Yeah, and honestly, it's one of those things that I wish I could say, like, I had this planned, but I didn't. I grew up in Madison, and I went to Marquette and went back to Madison and was working there for a couple of years, just doing, local sports and live games. And I knew that, like, the live sports production was what I wanted to get into instead of the traditional, local news market. I had done a little bit of interning with that in my time at Marquette, and I enjoyed it. It was a great experience, and I think that is the more traditional path. But then when I did the internship at ESPN the summer going into my senior year, and just being in that live environment, I think for me was what really cemented, wanting to do live TV. And so I got great advice from Rob King, who at the time was the editor-in-chief of ESPN.com, and he was the one that I had connected with at Marquette to get the internship at ESPN. And he said, if you can figure out what you want to do, then find something that gets you as close to that as possible. And I just was like, okay, so I how can I do live games? And I was doing high school sports and college sports. And then in 2012, an opportunity came around with, at the time, Fox Sports Wisconsin. And so they asked me if I would start doing social media content for the Brewers. And of course, I jumped at it. I was thrilled to do it. But I think people now forget that that's how I started, was in the social media space. And, I made it very clear to them, like, I'm happy to start doing this, but ultimately my goal, I'd love to be reporting, whether that's filling in for features or doing interviews, or ultimately getting games to fill in. So I took it, and then that led into working with the Bucks as well. And then, fast forward a couple years, and in 2018, I became a full-time person with the Brewers and haven't really looked back. So it's been really crazy. I don't think I didn't have this planned. I've been extremely fortunate, and it's been really fun. And especially considering the last few years, it's like the golden era of Brewers baseball.
Yeah.
I always chuckle because that's one of the things I mean, I'm sure you come into contact with this as well, especially alma mater. I'm sure you talk to Marquette kids because they want to visit me all the time. And I always tell them, like, it's great to have that idea of where you want to go. But man, don't get married to the path, because you will miss so much good stuff. If you think you've got to be in at least in our case, because I'm old enough that kind of traditional TV was the way to go. But you're like, okay, at 25, I got to be in market 50. And at 29, I need to be in market 20 and top. Like, if you get hung up on that thing, because now all of a sudden you miss those guideposts. But I think that's half the fun, is to go, okay, I'd like to be here, but how I get there, it's kind of like my GPS that I have now. When I turn it on, I'm like, that's not at all how I think I would go there. and you do it on your own. And I don't know. I just think that's sort of kind of the fun of doing all this. Hearing Brian Anderson talk about, like he wouldn't trade yanking bags off the bus in the minor leagues, But do you come across that where you tell people like, yes, here I am. Here's my story. That's how I became an overnight success. Was by doing all these different jobs.
Oh yeah, we all know the overnight success story, right? That's so true for everyone. Well, and that was another thing, at ESPN, John, is I forget who shared this with us in the program, but at that point they told us that of all of the talent at ESPN at that point in time had worked in all 50 states. Like at some point, all of the ESPN talent collectively had worked in all 50 states. And I just thought that was like the best example of you can take a totally different path and ultimately end up in the same place. And again, I couldn't have anticipated some of the opportunities that came up for me of like doing the high school football state championships, which aired on Fox Sports Wisconsin. Then I was asked to do a high school, magazine sports style show that I was doing features for every week. That also aired on Fox Sports Wisconsin. And then, all of that live programming that I was doing, that I was just doing because I needed the reps. Again, I didn't go the traditional route of, I did my senior year internship at the ABC affiliate in Milwaukee, which was 2008. So I was covering, I was going to Miller Park and covering the 2008 team and the, the wild card and that drought. And I remember just watching all of that and like, wow, this is what you want to do, right? Like, this is the fun stuff. This is the good stuff. And again, I didn't take that traditional route because I was like, I know I want to do live games. So if I want to do that, then that's probably what I should be doing and what I should getting my repetition in. And again, there were a lot of times I questioned, like, should I be doing the local sports route? Would it be better if I was in studio? Would that be more visibility? But I just sort of trusted like that I was doing the right thing. And I think that's what I tell students is like, just kind of keep making like the next right decision. And you never know, right? Who you may interact with, who, the people you may meet, the exposure you might get, like you never know.
Be kind, collect business cards.
Yes.
Right?
Always be kind. Yes.
It's a contact sport. Always.
Exactly.
So
go ahead, Trev.
I was just going to say, Sophia, you were talking about being futuristic and how you didn't see this coming, but you saw something coming because your majors were journalism and let's speak fluent Spanish for the rest of my life. And that serves you really well in the role you're in now. So what was that about? I mean, that's pretty futuristic in my opinion.
Yeah, no, so my dad was a high school football coach. And so I tell people that I grew up like the coach's daughter in Remember the Titans. Like that was my life to a T. I didn't know anything different. It was definitely, a family thing for us. We were all super supportive and to my dad's credit, he was really inclusive. Like he, took us to the weight room and to practices and my brothers and I would be running around and I'd be the water girl at games and make the Gatorade and do the film. And he just let me be a part of that. And, that was honestly kind of my first exposure in like a small way was just reading the game stories the next day in the paper, watching the local news stations cover the teams, watching my dad do interviews with them. And then I think he made the point, like, you could do this. This is something you want to do. You could do this. And so I definitely went to Marquette with the idea that I knew I wanted to work in sports and I knew I wanted to be in media. But even when I started at Marquette, I didn't necessarily know which path that was going to be. So I decided to do journalism and Spanish as a double major. And partly because I thought, well, I don't know what I want to do, but at least if I'm a journalism major, I'll have good writing and reporting and communication skills. That should translate to something, right? And then the Spanish major, my mom is Costa Rican, so we grew up speaking Spanish and I knew I wanted to study abroad. So that was another path. Like, no matter what I do, speaking Spanish will be valuable. And having a degree in that made a lot of sense. So again, it really wasn't until I went to ESPN, and that was the summer going into my senior year, that I really committed to broadcasting and, live sports and live television. And so then I had to sort of repivot what my senior year looked like because I had not taken a single broadcasting class. And I didn't start until my senior year. And then I decided to throw myself into a year-long internship after that. And yeah, it was just, I think, again, it's like you figure things out along the way, and then you try to put yourself in the best position.
Give me the cost benefit that you've had when you look at the major league rosters that you've been able to go into, and like I said, speak to them in their language, build that rapport.
Yeah, look, it's invaluable. And I think it's personally, it's professionally. I mean, when I started at Fox at the time, right away within the first year of me being there, they realized that, I spoke Spanish, and then we started this project, Baseball in the Dominican Republic. So we spent like 2.5 weeks in the Dominican, and we did some hometown visits with some of the Brewers players at the time, like Gene Segura and Carlos Gomez. We did some content for the Minnesota Twins as well, because they are a partner of the network. And then we spent some time at the baseball academies where all those prospects start, and winter ball. And it was an absolute blast, and I loved it. But I think that was sort of the foundation of everything that has happened after that. I think they realized that I was capable of handling that. And I think it's kind of the root of everything that we do is connection and relationships and storytelling. And to me, there's nothing more personal than going to visit someone, in their hometown, spend time with their family, see where they grew up, go to their schools, see what their life is like now, see how their life has changed now that they've made this ultimate impossible dream of getting off the island and working your way up the minor league system and making it to the major leagues, and let alone becoming an all-star, and all this great stuff that these guys have accomplished. So, on a daily basis, I still speak Spanish with, all of our Latin players. That's just what they prefer. I think the other one that people always remember is Freddie Peralta's major league debut in Colorado. It was Mother's Day. His family was there. It was the first time they had seen him pitch at any professional level. Talking to his mom in the stands, and, again, they didn't speak English, but I think you could tell just by her emotion and what she was saying, just how proud she was and how overwhelming that moment was for them. So I think anytime that you're able to connect with them, make them feel comfortable, make them feel like they can express themselves, it's huge. I think that's just the root of everything that we do, is establishing that connection and the storytelling.
I will never forget the first time you did it. I was watching with my oldest son, and you would ask a question in Spanish and then turn to the camera and say, "This is what I just asked him." And I was like, wow, just the fluidity between speaking Spanish to the player, having them answer, you give it to us. It was really, really impressive. So that's really cool to see how that comes together. All right.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, it was impressive. That's segment one, which was impressive. We get two more with Sophia Minnaert of the Milwaukee Brewers. We're back in a second. This is Inside Wisconsin.
Inside Wisconsin is brought to you by Baycare Clinic, Cobblestone Creek, University of Wisconsin-Platteville, Roll Tech, Festival Foods, Capital Credit Union, North Star Mohican Casino Resort, American Family Insurance, Miller Lite, and Aaron's Company.
Helpful critiques, ideas, great stories, people we should know, the great bar in your town, the fish fry you want to know, the fish boil, anything that you want to reach out to us with. We are happy. We are here. You can be the inputters. We're here to listen.
John, I know you're a golfer. I can't quite call myself a golfer, but
sure.
I've golfed. Out of curiosity, are you an aiming fluid Miller Lite drinker on the golf course? Are you one of those guys that gets better when you have a beer or two?
I don't necessarily. I'm not in the aiming fluid category. I'm more of swing oil, help loosen you up a little, get the back, more of that. I like to lube up with it. So yeah. And then I always find that there's the magic part where you're like, okay, that's the exact number that I need. But the problem is when you hit it, it's probably comes after you've had too many, and then we can get off in the woods. But yeah, I am not shy when it comes to that.
Yeah, I can't frankly golf without it. I've tried. It doesn't make any sense. Usually by hole 3, the Bev Cart girl comes. The Miller Lights are on order, whether it's lubrication or what did you call it? I've never heard it called that. I usually call it aiming fluid. What did you say?
Swing oil.
Swing oil.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
I'm going to take that.
the motion is the lotion. And so you got to be able to get loosened up. And so that's what you need sometimes.
Oh, man. I'm taking that
We've
with me.
only played once. We need to play more. I'll tell you, you can find it enjoyable.
John Buccigross attempted to fix my swing that day. There was not enough.
No.
It didn't. The lubrication and the aiming fluid didn't matter. I was absolute.
You look like a giraffe falling out of a tree.
Exactly. Leaf eater. All right. Next time you're getting ready to enjoy cold ones with your crew, whether it's on the golf course or at a ball game, go to MillerLite.com/inside Wisconsin to find delivery options near you. Or you can pick up some Miller Lite pretty much anywhere they sell beer. It's Miller time. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 96 calories and 3.2 carbs per 12 ounces. Out of curiosity, J.A., where'd you try to order Miller Lite this time?
I got it actually at the hardware store when I actually got other oil for my lawnmower. So yeah, you can get it anywhere. I like to just think of it as success in a can. Back on Inside Wisconsin, interrupting for the moment our great conversation with Sophia Minnaert. Much more from her to come. We are lucky to have her on the broadcast of our favorite team as we sit and watch the Brewers. So in honor of her, we're talking Marquette. Did you notice? Yeah, I went. Whoops, this side, full on Marquette. So I thought, well, Marquette grads are always interesting. You know, big place, a lot of them in there. And I thought, okay, because Trevor doesn't know anything that happened before 1983. So I thought, I'm going to give you a top 5 Marquette sports-related graduates. Okay. These are Marquette students, Marquette alum, that people may or may not know, might be surprised. The only category you can't be in is a basketball player. And I don't know if some of these will blow you away or some of them won't. So here we go. These are top 5 sports-related Marquette guys, right? Because if we went all over, then we got to get Chris Farley in and Don Amici and some of these. You know. So the first one, do you know Charles Pierce?
Nope.
Charles, he is a Boston guy and still is now back out east. And he's done some stuff for ESPN. He's brilliant. He is a writer. He's written for Esquire. He's written for GQ, LA Times, New York Times. Look up Charles Pierce.
I wrote it down.
He writes just wonderfully. He can write both ends of the candle. He can be funny and quippish and sarcastic. He can be deep and empathetic and just really elegant in the way he writes. So everybody should go look up Charles Pierce, the writer. He's terrific. So staying in that vein, Steve Rushin. Do you know Steve Rushin? Longtime, great Sports Illustrated writer. He's a Minnesota kid.
Okay.
He's married to Rebecca Lobo.
Okay.
And perhaps the most creative, fun writer you'll ever read. Steve Rushin. In fact, that'll be on my list. Remind me. We'll call Rebecca Lobo. We'll get Steve Rushin on. You will spend an hour just laughing.
That's awesome. Now that you say that, I definitely recognize the name and what you just pieced together. All right, I'm doing good.
We'll look him up. Then we're going to go 3. George Allen, the Hall of Fame coach of the Redskins. Yes?
No.
Oh my gosh!
I might recognize his face. I mean, when did he coach the Redskins?
In the 70s, the Over the Hill Gang, that beat the Packers in the 72 playoffs, the guy that lost to the Miami Dolphins in the Super Bowl when they were perfect, George Allen, Hall of Famer. Okay, so here's people that know sports will know George Allen.
Okay. Ouch.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to say. Number 2 was kind of tough. I want to put him number 1. That's just because I saw his nephew and met him when I was in Oregon, which is where I was the last week. I've been in Oregon for the NCAA Track and Field Championships. Congratulations. Olin Hacker won the 5K, Wisconsin Badger, senior. Great run by him. His dad, also a fabulous run. So number 2, though, is Ralph Metcalf, who held the world record in the 100 and ran the 4x1 relay team with Jesse Owens that won the 4x1 gold medal in 1936 Berlin in front of Hitler. You should know Ralph Metcalf. He and Jesse Owens are like this, or like that.
Yeah.
He's someone people need to know. That's another of these guys. Historically, everybody should know about. Went on to be a longtime congressman from Chicago. and one of the great athletes in Marquette history. And number one, we're finally going to get to somebody that Trevor knows.
Doubtful.
Bob Harland.
Yes. Okay, good. Thank you. Appreciate
Bob
that.
Harland.
That's somebody we want
The
on
man
the
who
show.
literally brought the Packers back.
Bob Harland.
And
that one.
And as much as people are down on the Dan Devine era, right? The Hadel trade, all this was terrible. Perhaps the longest, most impactful thing that Dan Devine did, he hired a fellow that at the time I think was working for the St. Louis Cardinals office named Bob Harland.
Bob Harland.
And
that one,
the franchise forever changed.
Forever. Bob Harland Plaza for a reason at Lambeau Field. We are back inside Wisconsin. Trevor Thomas, John Anderson, and Sophia Minnaert with the Milwaukee Brewers. You recognize her. You recognize John. I built the studio in my basement. It's cool. To that note, do you travel with your Emmy? Because I know this is going to come up. I'm going to beat John to the punch. There are his Emmys in his background. Do you carry yours with you? Because clearly there's none here. Yeah.
No. Well, first of all, John has way more than me, as he should. And no, I don't, because when we're traveling on the road, that the suitcase space is precious real estate. We cannot be traveling with heavy pieces of metal. So no, they're in a box.
Tell me how hard it is to be a female in this business, because there are still obstacles, even if you can speak Spanish.
Yes, there are still obstacles. I will say, though, that I have found that one of the best parts of this job, for me personally anyway, has been the relationships that I've made with other women in the league, other reporters, with other teams. I think you just sort of click with those people quicker than you would probably with most people, because they get it, right? The schedule in Major League Baseball is really demanding. Just the volume of games is more than any other sport. I feel like, even working the Bucs seasons a couple years ago, it was like, well, that's half of a baseball season. That's like the home schedule. But, getting to meet those people, and I think you have an immediate connection with them. You develop real friendships with them. And I feel really lucky to have that, honestly. Like, it's a great support system. I think we feel like we can bounce stuff off of each other. We can vent. I think it's a really supportive community, and that's been my experience. And I think what's been really cool in my time is that you're seeing women get more opportunities. You're seeing more women do play-by-play. You're seeing somebody like Jessica Mendoza, right, emerge and be an analyst. You're seeing, even just in the baseball ops side of things, you're seeing Kim Ng become a general manager. And, for the Brewers, we now have a female Teresa Lau on our training staff. That's something that the Brewers have never had before. So you're seeing it kind of across the board of more representation, which I think is great. But for me, just having that friendship and that peer group, it's honestly been one of the best parts of this job for me.
Do you know my friend Kelly Krull?
I sure do. Yes. She's one of my very good friends, of course, for all of those years in the Brewers Cubs rivalry. Between she and I was always like, there's no rivalry here. We're very close friends. Sure. Everybody knew that. She's with Atlanta now, so I'm really happy for her. But yeah, it's like, especially, people like that, it's like we see the Cubs 20 times a year. So, yeah.
And you still get them with the Braves now, or in the Padres. She's all around. Yeah. Noblesville, Indiana's finest, Trevor.
Got it. Noted.
And
Noblesville,
Mizzou tennis star.
Might be that too, but
might be that too.
Trevor always Trevor always knows at some point there's a Mizzou connection to all this, or a track and field connection.
100% chance. We joke all the time that we are 3 degrees away from Wisconsin, no matter who gets brought up. I'm convinced at this point we are 2 degrees from Missouri, and it's never been an argument. 100%.
Big games and big hits and big wins. Usually you can see the shaving cream pie coming. You can see the Gatorade coming. Is that self-preservation, or are you like, I'm going to have to take this because the goal is to make sure the other dude, gets his comeuppance?
Oh, I'm all about self-preservation.
Oh, good. Yeah. You're putting on your oxygen mask before you worry about the person seated next to you.
Yes, I'm all about self-preservation. And look, like those walk-off interviews, they're so fun. And with those, it's like you do have to kind of keep your head on a swivel, and you have to keep track of where all the usual suspects are, right? Like the guys that are coming with the cooler and the ice and the gum and whatever else they decide to find that day. So I'm always kind of keeping track, like where is everybody else around me? And then you're obviously trying to do the live interview. But yeah, I'm always like, when we're doing those interviews, obviously something great has happened and I want the player to enjoy that moment, and I don't need to be a part of it. This is your moment that you can wear this one. You're going to go into the clubhouse and change anyway. So you can wear all of this and I'm just going to step back and let you wear it. So
like,
that's my attitude.
Who do you have to worry about? Who's like the biggest culprit? Like who's out there that that, there's the walk-off. Who in that dugout is the guy that's going to be?
Usually Willie Adames. Yeah. Okay. Willie's kind of taken over that. And that's just who Willie is. It's never malicious. Actually, one time, I think this must have been last year, Colton Wong actually gave me a heads up, said like, hey, get out of the way, as we were doing the interview. And somebody it must have been Willie, I forget who it was coming in behind me, but I had my back to them, so I couldn't see it. So that was probably one of like the kindest things that a player could have done for me, was to like mid-interview give me the heads up and say like, hey, look out, get out of the way.
Nice.
So that's the end of the game. Yeah. I'm sure at some point today you will dig in and you will prepare and you will load yourself up. And I think this is stuff that gets lost on people. Give me the percentage of stuff that you get ready for a game but ends up never hitting air. Are we 80% higher, right? Like people don't realize it's a phenomenal amount.
Yeah, it's a lot. And I think especially on this job, when like you're with the team every day, you're reporting on stuff every day, you're also trying to come up with like new angles, right? Like Corbin Burns is starting tonight. And if Corbin stays healthy, right, hopefully we get, 30 really good starts from Corbin Burns. So, I always try to check in with the starters, for example, like the day before their start. And so hypothetically, if I'm interviewing Corbin Burns 30 times, like I want to try to keep it fresh for him as well, right? So I'm trying to come up with different angles or different topics. Sometimes it's more like, X's and O's type stuff. Sometimes it's more big picture type stuff. And then I think you're trying to mix in some personal stuff as well I think you just feel like you don't want to miss anything. Like you just don't want to miss anything. So you're constantly checking in with guys and how are they feeling and what are they working on and what's coming up for them. And I think that's probably the hardest part, is like just the sheer volume of content, between our pregame show every day and then the games, of course. So you're trying to prepare for everything. And yeah, there's a lot of times you don't get stuff in, or we know too, like the flow of the game. Like you might have some really great stuff lined up, but next time Andrew McCutchen comes up, it's 2 outs, or Christian Yelich comes up and there's bases loaded. So like I can't step on that. So, game situations as well will dictate, how much we can get in and the timing of that. So yeah, it's sometimes you feel like, wow, I got a lot in that day. And then other times you feel like, man, we didn't really get as much in as I would have wanted, but there's always a game the next day.
The journalism side, the preparedness. I mean, you and John both are just so incredibly good at your jobs. I sit back here as a fan and wonder, Sophia, how long, or maybe it was just in college that you learned this, how long did it take you to realize you're a Wisconsin woman, you grew up here as a fan, and now you travel with the Brewers every day? I would lose it if I did that. Like, I don't have that in my body. Did that ever affect you?
Look, I'm very aware of just how grateful I am, to have this job. I'm very aware of how many people would love to do this job. So I try to never lose sight of that, even when things get hard or you're tired or, the schedule is wearing on you, whatever may be going on. I try to never lose sight of that, of like what a privilege it is to work with this team, to be in this era, right, of Brewers baseball, like all the things that I've been able to witness of, Ron Renneke was the manager when I started, and then Craig Counsell taking over, and everything that has happened since then, and MVP seasons, All-Star seasons, Cy Young seasons. I mean, it's just, yeah, there are sometimes you're like, wow, how did I how did I end up in this room? How did I, like, how lucky am I that this is my life? Like, I try not to lose sight of that. And I'm definitely aware of it. So yeah, I'm extremely grateful. I really am. So yeah, and I think, you also hear that from people, when people say like, I'd love to do your job or a job swap or whatever, I think that's also a good reminder.
I'm going to have one more before we get a break, because Trevor, I'm sure, will have a euchre question coming up in his speed round, because that's exactly who that guy is, for sure. But we've talked about those. Everything's baseball, baseball, baseball. Given your background, and you kind of touched on it with your dad, and his status is really one of the great coaches in the state. Do you have any pull, anything like, does football need to be in your future somewhere?
That's actually a really good question, because I feel like the people that knew me growing up are probably shocked that I'm not working in football. Which again, right, going back to before, it's like, you don't know the path, don't be married to the path, just like see where life takes you. Because the reality is the bilingual piece of my background plays better and has more value in Major League Baseball than in any other sport. So that on its own has a lot of value. And I just don't think it would have the same impact in many other leagues. So what am I missing? It's like, there are things like, I think like covering an Olympics would be an amazing opportunity. A World Series, of course, like, that would be the ultimate, in this current role, which, I feel like every year, it's close. I know. So yeah, a World Series, and beyond that, like, I don't know. I loved my time covering the NBA. I thought it gave me great like versatility, and it's a completely different league and sport and the way that you broadcast the game. So yeah, I think that you're always kind of thinking about like what's next.
Okay, listen, I get the Spanish might not help you as much in the NFL. I don't know how many people, men, women, or otherwise, can draw, load schemes and the too deep shell like you probably can as well. So, I got that going for me, which is nice.
Which is nice, yes.
All right. Yep. I'm going to ask you a euchre question. It's happening. We're back in a second.
Okay.
Inside Wisconsin.
Inside Wisconsin is brought to you by Baycare Clinic, Cobblestone Creek, University of Wisconsin-Platteville, Roll Tech, Festival Foods, Capital Credit Union, North Star Mohican Casino Resort, American Family Insurance, Miller Lite, and Aaron's Company.
Helpful critiques, ideas, great stories, people we should know, the great bar in your town, the fish fry you want to know, the fish boil, anything that you want to reach out to us with. We are happy. We are here. You can be the inputters. We're here to listen.
John, it's official. I have it in my hand.
What do you have?
Da-da-da. The gas rewards card from Festival Foods.
Okay.
I'm saving on
gas. You
gas.
can't eat that though, right?
No, you can't eat this, but
okay.
This adds up to enough money that you save at the pump with the Festival Foods gas rewards program that you can actually buy more food, and then you save more on gas, which allows you to buy more food. This is a good deal with Festival
Circle of life right there.
Yeah. Must eat to stay alive. This is how it works. Make sure to register. You have to register, go to Festival Foods, get this card. It is a literal free rewards program. You buy groceries at Festival Foods, and for every dollar spent, you get a point. 100 points equals 10 cents off per gallon. That makes a difference. I've seen some pictures on social media. People are saving like tens of dollars on their gas. It's a big deal. I wish there was one by you. We don't need to go down that.
You save money, and you get to eat meat, because you can go buy meat. Like, that's pretty good. I have gas and I have meat.
I thought of you yesterday. I walked through a Festival Foods. I was shopping a little bit last night, and there was a giant sign that talked about certified Angus beef. And I was like, I know what that is because of my conversation with John.
I applaud people that are plant-based and healthy and vegan and all that stuff. But like I said, I just every once in a while, like, hey, you know who's at the top of the food chain? Right here. You know how I prove it? Knife, fork. Let's go at it.
Noted. Well, and it pays to save on gas, too. You're on the top of that chain as well. Go to festfoods.com. Find the Festival Foods gas rewards with Crit Trip. Save on gas. Buy more beef. We are back inside Wisconsin. Trevor, John, Sophia Minnaert with the Brewers. As promised, listen, euchre. Okay. John and I talk a lot that there are so many personalities and athletes and people to choose from that have Wisconsin ties that we want to have on the show inside Wisconsin. And we talk about a bucket list, and there's people literally on the bucket list. And then there is a person that is the bucket, and that's Bob Uecker. You grew up here, Sophia. I grew up here. John was probably a kid when Uecker started announcing, not aging you. The guy's a big deal. If there's any starstruck moment when you first started, it had to be with Bob Uecker. So give us your best Bob Uecker story.
Oh, man.
Right, you just get one. That's it. Just one
Yeah,
story.
just one or
Just
10.
give me one.
You can talk for as long as you want.
Okay. Well, I will just say, I mean, we all know like how funny he is, and honestly, his longevity to me, how sharp he is, and the fact that he is working as many games as he is at his age, and the quality of his broadcast still, it's unbelievable to me. I think about it a lot, of just everything that he's gone through in his life, and this is still what brings him so much joy. And I think it's a great lesson for all of us of like, you know, finding that thing that gives you so much joy. And for him, he just loves coming to the park every day, and he loves being around the team, and he loves telling stories, and he loves making people laugh. And I think about, you know, like the joy he has given all of us, you know, as people who grew up listening to him, as, you know, Brewers fans, as just baseball fans. It's like an incredible gift that he has. And I feel like he's a comedic genius with, you know, everything that he has done. And I don't think he gets enough credit for that, honestly. It's just how, you know, sharp and brilliant and kind of genius he is with what he does. But I think for me personally, what has meant the most, and this probably isn't the story that you guys are looking for, but just having his acceptance and his support from the time that I started with the team has been, I get emotional thinking about it, because he didn't owe that to me. You know, I don't even work on the radio side, and he has been, you know, you talk about like the challenge of being a woman in sports, like he never made me feel that way. He accepted me. I've learned so much from him. He has treated me with so much kindness, and like we now, I feel like, have a really good friendship, which is insane to say, but I'm so grateful for him, and just how he just treated me with like the utmost respect, and he would point out things that he didn't like, of like, well, I don't like when the guys say this around you. I don't like, you know, this, if you ever need it, you know, it's like he has really stepped up in a big way for me personally. So I will just forever be grateful to him for that.
That's 100% the story we were looking for. What a cool behind the scenes story. Amen. All right. One more for me. You're on TV. John's on TV. Brian's been on the show. Jeff, we haven't had Mr. Schroeder on yet. There is a piece to you all that lives in front of a camera. Do you get to go to Lambeau Field in disguise and just have a blast as a Wisconsin girl? Does that happen?
Yeah, I did. I did. I went to a Packers game sometime in November. It was the Rams game. So yeah, of course. I mean, I'm still a fan like everybody else, right? Like I go to a ton of Marquette basketball games. Thank you, John, for dressing appropriately for this podcast.
There you go.
I still go to a ton of Marquette games. I still enjoy going to Bucks games. You know, I haven't been to many Badger football games, actually, now that I think about it. I usually hope that we're working in October, so I hope that like I'm not able to go to football games, but yeah, I'm still a fan. Like you don't want to lose that part of it. You know, of what it's like to go to a game as a fan. I don't want to ever forget kind of what that feels like. And again, for people, this is entertainment. Like for us, it's work. But you know, this matters to people in Wisconsin. You know, we know how loyal and passionate people are about all the teams. So it's fun. It's fun to be a part of that.
That's for Trevor, by the way, that qualifies as his speed round. He has 2 deep and probing questions.
I usually have one at the end too, which I'm prepared for.
So I don't know. He goes, well, we should do this quick lightning round at the end. I'm like, great, let's do that. And then this is what you get from him. And now I'm left and I look like the clown that's going to ask these bozo questions. But It's just the role. It's just the role I have been defined. I have been pigeonholed into this, and for now, I'm going to take it. All right.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
here we go. I'm going to bunch these. First off, best road city to have a day off in.
Oof. Well, we had one here in New York, so that was pretty great. I would also say we got really lucky with this one too. Miami is always a great one to have an off day. And I would say San Diego as well.
Okay, great. What did you do with MVP Yelich?
He's still an MVP, so
Okay. So just wondering, we're trying to solve this. We've tried on our own. We can't seem to get him to hit 390 again. I don't know what it is. We're just wondering, but if that's okay, we're not going to blame it on you. Average number of selfies that you have to take with fans on a home game.
Not as many as what you would think. I would say probably less 3, maybe like less than 3. Because where I am during the games, I'm either on the field or I'm in the camera well. So I'm kind of hidden, honestly. Like unless I'm walking around the ballpark, I'm not super visible.
All right.
Yes.
Number of times you've called it Miller Park this season.
Oh, no.
How about this? Number of times you caught yourself wanting to call it Miller Park this season.
A lot. So last year we had a double rebrand, right? So we had to change from Fox Sports Wisconsin to Valley Sports Wisconsin.
Right.
And on top of that, they threw the stadium name change. So Miller Park to American Family Field. So PA and Rock and I, we actually wrote like signs and put them up in the booth because, John, it's like we're you go to your kind of creature of habit mental space. And we really had to retrain ourselves, and we essentially made a swear jar for the name jar. I think we still have our signs up in the booth because, we're not as smart as we wish we were.
When the New York Marathon switched to TCS, I still have it. It's been 5 years, and it's in big letters right there. So I make sure I do the TCS New York Marathon. How insufferable are Murphy and Council going to be with Notre Dame in the College World Series?
Probably pretty insufferable. Yeah, it's going to be a lot. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. They might. I don't know. Maybe Murph more so than Craig, but I don't know. Murph could show up in like a Notre Dame football helmet. I mean, we just don't know. Like, I would not rule anything out with Murph.
Last wedding you went to?
I didn't go to any last year. This is another sort of unfortunate part of the Major League season is like I sort of skipped the whole spring summer wedding circuit unless it's family. So I think probably 2020 at some point I went to a wedding.
Which is hard because in 2020 people weren't having If not your dad, give me the brewer who would give you away on your wedding day.
Oh my.
Wow. That's cool.
Oh wow. Honestly, it would probably have to be like BA and Rock because
they don't play.
Oh, in uniform?
Yeah, we'll have a ballpark wedding.
Oh, okay, in uniform.
Doesn't have to be current roster. It can be someone that was,
former or current brewer.
Anybody you want.
Oh, now you gotta go Robin Yount, right? He could motorcycle. He could motorcycle ride down the aisle. Cool. That would be pretty epic.
Be a hell of a toast. By the way, this was not a thing, but if you went beer for him every inning, how long would you last?
Okay, confession. I would not last. No, I've never done this. I would not last long because you guys, I've never finished a beer. I know that's so shameful. I know. Look at Trevor's face right now. He's so ashamed. But I've never finished a beer, so he would win that race. Well, plus, with ball players, that is not a game you want to get into.
Don't want to ever get
especially from that era, no chance.
Yeah. Here's the last one I have. So every year I sponsor a internship for a student at the University of Missouri. And this year, this gal will start tonight.
Oh my God, great.
Yes, I want the best piece of advice I can give her so she can maximize her ESPN internship.
Make a list of either the people that you want to meet or shows you want to work on, and start making those connections so that you can set up meetings or shadow opportunities or talk to people on the shows that you're interested in. And that was something that I did. And honestly, they told us to do that. They gave us the green light of like, you're here to learn and absorb and be sponges. So do that. Because I feel like you always have to be your own advocate. And it's on you to maximize your time there. So I would have her kind of think strategically about the people she wants to meet, the shows she wants to work on, and do her best to set that stuff up. Like Wendy Nix was one for me that I connected with when I was out there, and she let me shadow her for a couple days, and it was incredible.
Super nice lady, unbelievable. Baseball background, right? I don't know at the time if she was still married to Ben. And just what some people don't know is you need to get strokes from her on the golf course. She played golf at Wofford. So don't just think, oh, I'll stroll in the field. Wendy Nix, sure, that's fine. Yeah, she will take your money if you're not careful. But yes, one of the wonderful people, and tells a great story when you talked about packing. They ended up in Georgia somewhere or whatever, and she her luggage didn't make it, and she ended up going to Target and bought this dress on the spur of the moment, and then felt even worse because she got so many compliments on her new nice dress. And it was when she had purchased at Target as opposed to, somewhere else down the line. You probably had that similar thing. But to hear her tell it is uproariously funny.
That stuff happens all the time.
Yeah. Here's my dress that I just got from whoever. I don't know, Vera Wang. But I went to Target and spent like $9. And it was, everybody's, that's a great dress. Is that new? It's wonderful. Fantastic.
You're like, okay, I guess this is where I'm shopping more often.
There you go.
I'm just curious. This is my last one. John, bite your lip. Sophia, you grew up in Madison, come from a football family. If you had to say that this person is the best Badger football player to ever play,
who
would it be?
That's not really the question, but okay.
I'll get there in a second.
Ron Dane, right?
Yeah. Okay, that's fair.
Ron Dane.
That's a good one. Yeah. If you were to make a top 5 list, where would Joe Thomas fall?
Oh, he's got to be 1A, 1B, right? I mean, Joe Thomas has to be in the top 3.
Trevor had him 38th.
The disrespect.
Yeah. Well,
complete disrespect.
We had him on the show.
For
it was
Joe
good.
Thomas.
38th is not true. 5th. It was 5th. Sophia, thank you so much for coming on Inside Wisconsin. Truly, it was a pleasure having you. This is fun for us, right? I mean, this is clearly not John's full-time job, but it is mine, and I love hearing these stories from within Wisconsin. So thanks for joining us.
Appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.
Every night I'm watching you and BA. Well, not BA, not every night. You every night.
Right.
BA, special guest appearances are always nice when he comes through, but we're watching. We watch you. We watch our club. We watch for Tavern of the Game. We love everything about it. And so just you've got a captive audience, at least in my cubicle in ESPN. And thanks so much for coming on and spending some time with us.
No, thank you guys so much. This was a blast. So this has been a lot of fun. Thank you.
I found it very fascinating that you offered your anchor position at SportsCenter for Sophia Minnaert's job. So, tell me.
First off, I don't know if I could do it as nicely or do it as well. So maybe I should not have made that offer. I don't want to make people watching, Bruiser and I go, could we get the woman back that was so good at that job instead of this?
True, she was
this
great.
Clown who all he wants to do is talk about Billy Travers' forkball.
She was fantastic, J.A. Sophia Minnaert, really good at her job. So are you. It was a blast.
You don't have to butter me up, dude. It's fine. It's okay. You don't have to ever give that caveat.
I'm just saying. You're good at your job. She's really good at her job.
She's really good.
Okay, jobs. Let's talk about jobs, right?
Yeah,
you have mentioned
that one. I'd take it in a heartbeat.
Yeah, I would too. Any one of those jobs, including the public address announcer at AmFam Field, in case anybody is listening. Okay, jobs
to apply. Yeah.
You have mentioned that you have had an opportunity or two over the years to return to Wisconsin. So I thought this would be a good John Wisconsin. What's that about? You could have been back here instead of ESPN. Take us down the path.
Or is it Job Wisconsin? It's one of those. I don't know. So Early on, I applied for a producer job. That was really right out of school.
Yeah.
And that did not, nothing. I didn't get a bite on that. But years later, I applied for the job at WBAY for the sports director job. I came up, I interviewed.
That's here in Green Bay, by the way.
Yep. Told my folks that I'm going to go up and interview at Channel 2. So they were all excited, stayed at the house, went over, did it. And they didn't hire me. They hired Chris Roth, who is still there, right? So that's 20 some odd years. Chris has been there doing a great job. He was in Milwaukee. So I think they went, this guy knows a lot about the Packers and had connections. And I think, clearly it's a decent hire because the retention level's really, really good. And Chris is really good at his job, right? It's hard to, there's some good sportscasters in Green Bay right now with Chris and Burke, those guys that have been there and know the place so well, Burke Griffin. But so there was that one. Then I came back and my contract was going to be up in Phoenix and I was not going to get renewed. So I don't know if you know the terminology of I'm not going to get renewed, but that means you're going to get fired.
You're
right?
done.
Your contract's not renewed, right? It sounds cool, like mutual parting. But if, in fact, you would like to come to work that day and they say you don't have to come to work today, that to me is you're fired. So I was kind of on the road to the fellow that was news director and did not like any of us that did sports. So it's funny because everybody's going on and been really successful outside of this place. We're like, okay, we were validated. The guy was terrible. So I'd seen two other guys go out the door and I knew I was the next guy. And I applied at WGBA, which is Channel 6 in Green Bay. And I went up, Channel 26, and went up and interviewed, and I got offered that job. And at the same time, I got offered a job from CNN in Atlanta. I had gone to interview there. Previously, like 3 or 4 months before, I had interviewed at ESPN. 3 or 4 months. So now I have WGBA, Channel 26 on the line, and I have CNN, and I've got to decide what I want to do. This time when I came in, I did not tell my folks I was interviewing for the job, and I stayed at a hotel, and they had no idea.
Jeez.
Then I called and told them, hey, I got offered a job. So very hopeful, and I'm on a ski trip with a high school friend of mine from Southwest. And I've got to make the decision of where I'm going to go. And so I'm thinking, you know what? The next job I get will be easier if CNN is on my resume and not Channel 26. No offense to them, but, here it is. And so I'm supposed to call my agent this morning at the appointed hour, and I call him. And I said, Greg, much to the dismay, I will disappoint my parents. I'm going to go to CNN. He goes, no, you're not. I said, what was that? He goes, I called ESPN back, told them they were about to lose you to CNN, and they've offered you a contract. And so they came to this agent who eventually he and I parted ways, but he made one last phone call and made all the difference with those. None of that, all that though, pales to when I applied for a job in Milwaukee and John Anderson was there. The old Packer football, John Anderson's working there, who, by the way, is my bucket list guy on this show. So we got to get John Anderson on. And the guy, they call me. And they said, hey, we're thinking about bringing you in. We kind of like what you've got here. I was in Tulsa at the time still, Tulsa, Oklahoma. And he said, but John Anderson, we have a John Anderson. And would you consider changing your name? And I thought I was being really funny. And I said, sure. How about Bart Starr? Which I thought was uproariously funny. And I didn't even get a move from this guy in the end of the line. I'm like, nothing. Didn't think it was funny. Maybe he didn't know who Bart Starr was. But I thought, okay, that first off, it went over like a lead balloon. And clearly, even if I'm there, this isn't going to work. And we hung up and I never heard back from them.
No way.
So that was the last I had it. So, yeah, maybe I should have said, Dave Robinson, or I don't know, somebody else, Donnie Anderson, I could be the Golden Palomino. But when I told him, sure, how about Bart Starr? Nothing.
Jeez.
Which is why you and I are doing this from thousands of miles apart, and you're in the basement, and I am in my attic.
That's funny.
In Connecticut.
Hey, so, I'm kind of happy how it all panned out, to be completely honest. I'm digging this. This is a lot of fun.
Sophia, right? Overnight success. Here we are 20 some odd years later. In my case, like 30 years later. It worked out just fine. Yeah.
That's cool. All's well that ends well. Well, J.A., it was good to have Sophia on today. lots of episodes to come, including the next episode is going to be from your visit here in Green Bay at the Green Bay Rockers. You're going to really enjoy that one. Cool stuff.
We'll have fun. We will have fun. Hopefully folks were out at the ballpark for us.
Amen. It'll be fun to watch. For Trevor, that's John. As you were, Wisconsin. See you next time.
Inside Wisconsin is brought to you by Baycare Clinic, Cobblestone Creek, University of Wisconsin-Platteville, Roll Tech, Festival Foods, Capital Credit Union, North Star Mohican Casino Resort, American Family Insurance, Miller Lite, and Aaron's Company.
Shut up and sit down.